Have you ever finished a long day, finally collapsed onto the couch with hours of free time stretching before you, and reached for your phone, only to find that after an hour of scrolling, you feel more exhausted and empty than when you started? If more free time were the simple cure for fatigue, this paradox wouldn't exist. The truth is, our sense of happiness and well-being doesn't track the quantity of our leisure. It tracks the quality of our attention. It follows the level of order inside our own minds. When our focus is scattered, pulled in a dozen directions by notifications, worries, and half-formed thoughts, we experience a kind of mental chaos. Psychologists call this psychic entropy. It's like a room in your mind that gets messier and messier, draining your energy no matter how comfortable the chair you're sitting in. The antidote to this pervasive drain is not more rest, but deeper engagement. It's a state of optimal experience known as flow. This isn't just a fleeting feeling, it's a powerful anti-entropy system you can intentionally build into the fabric of your life. It is a way to turn your work, your hobbies, your relationships, and even your inevitable setbacks into reliable sources of deep, restorative focus. Imagine a character, let's call him Alex. Alex is perpetually busy. His calendar is full, his inbox is overflowing, and he tells everyone he's swamped. Yet at the end of the day, he feels a gnawing sense of having accomplished nothing of real value. His evenings, which should be for recharging, are spent in a haze of passive consumption, leaving him just as tired for the next day. Alex's problem isn't a lack of time, it's a surplus of inner disorder. Over the next few minutes, we're going to build the operating system that Alex and you can use to fix this. We won't just talk about principles, we will construct a practical toolkit. First, I'll give you 4 immediate switches you can flip today to create pockets of order. Then, we'll learn the art of calibrating challenge and skill to find that perfect state of engagement. And stick with me, because at the very end, I will deliver on a promise. A single-page daily checklist that pulls everything together, making this process a sustainable, daily practice. To build this system, however, we must first get incredibly precise about what we're building. We need a clear blueprint for flow and a way to know, in an instant, whether we are in it or not. Flow isn't some mystical state reserved for master painters or world-class violinists. It is a specific, measurable, and trainable psychological state. It has clear markers that you can learn to identify in yourself. Let's discard the vague notion of just being in the zone and replace it with a concrete checklist. There are 6 primary indicators that tell you you're there. The first and most crucial is a perfect balance between the challenge of the task at hand and your current skill level. The task is not so hard that you feel overwhelmed and anxious, and not so easy that you become bored and apathetic. It stretches you just enough. Second, your goals are absolutely clear from one moment to the next. You don't have to wonder what to do next. The path forward is self-evident. Third, you receive immediate and unambiguous feedback on your actions. You can see right away whether you're getting closer to your goal or need to adjust your approach. This creates a closed loop of action and awareness. When these first 3 conditions are met, a 4th marker naturally appears. Your concentration becomes so deep and focused that everything outside the task simply melts away. Distractions, worries, the argument you had this morning, they all fade into irrelevance. This intense focus leads directly to the 5th marker, a powerful and exhilarating sense of personal control. You feel like the driver, not a passenger, fully in command of your actions and their outcomes. Finally, the 6th and most famous marker is a distortion of your sense of time and a dissolution of the self. Hours can feel like minutes. You forget to be self-conscious, you stop worrying about what others think, and you may even lose the sensation of your own body, becoming completely merged with the activity itself. So here is a 10-second self-check you can use anytime to diagnose your mental state. Ask yourself these 3 simple questions. 1. What is my single, precise goal for this exact moment? 2. What specific feedback am I receiving right now that tells me if I'm on track? And 3. Is the level of difficulty I'm facing perfectly matched to my current abilities? If you can't give a clear, confident answer to all 3, you are not in a state of flow. You might be busy, you might be working, but you are likely leaking mental energy. Recognizing this is the first step. Now that we have a clear target to aim for, the practical question becomes, how do we systematically create these conditions? It begins by flipping 4 fundamental switches in your daily approach. Changes so small, you can start making them the moment you finish watching this. Let's move from theory to immediate action. Here are the 4 switches you can flip today to dramatically increase your chances of experiencing flow. Think of this as a micro agreement with yourself, a simple experiment to run for the next 24 hours. The first switch is the nature of your goal. Vague intentions are the enemies of focus. Phrases like work on the project or clean the house are invitations for your mind to wander. They are too big, too fuzzy. Instead, you must define a tiny, concrete, and completable objective. The ideal micro goal is something that can be finished in a single, uninterrupted block of time, ideally 25 minutes or less. Let's go back to Alex. His goal of prepare the quarterly sales presentation is a recipe for procrastination. He flips the first switch by redefining it. For the next 25 minutes, my only goal is to find the 3 key data points for the Q2 revenue slide and create one single chart visualizing them. That clarity is non-negotiable. The second switch is the feedback loop. Progress needs to be made visible, not just felt. For Alex, he could take 3 sticky notes and place them on the left side of his monitor. Each time he finds a key data point, he moves one note to the right side. This simple act provides a constant visual drip of positive reinforcement, telling his brain, you are succeeding. It turns a marathon into a series of rewarding sprints. The third switch is building a concentration guardrail. Willpower is a finite resource. A well-designed environment is a constant support. You must architect your space for monotasking. This means creating a sanctuary where the desired action is the easiest one to take. For Alex, this meant closing every browser tab not directly related to finding his data. He closed his email client. He closed Slack. He put his phone on silent and placed it in a drawer in another room. He created an environment where the only interesting thing to do was the task itself. He eliminated the cues that would normally trigger a context switch and shatter his focus. The fourth and final switch is ensuring you are operating within a controllable range. If your success depends on luck, on a colleague's mood, or on a system you can't influence, your sense of control evaporates and anxiety takes its place. You must strip away that randomness. Focus only on the variables you can directly manipulate. Alex's old goal, make a presentation the CEO will love, was outside his control. His new goal, clearly and accurately present the 3 data points, is entirely within his control. By flipping these 4 switches, a clear micro goal, an instant feedback loop, a protective guardrail, and a sphere of direct control, you create the perfect laboratory conditions for flow to emerge. But creating these conditions is only half the battle. You still need to navigate your way into the narrow, elusive channel where flow actually happens. Imagine your mental state as a river. On one bank lies the swamp of boredom, a place where tasks are too simple and your skills are underutilized. Your mind, unchallenged, begins to wander and seek stimulation elsewhere. On the opposite bank are the rapids of anxiety, where the challenges are so great they overwhelm your current abilities, leading to stress, frustration, and a desire to give up. Flow exists only in the clear, fast-moving channel between these 2 banks. It is a dynamic state, and your job is not to find it once, but to become a skilled navigator, constantly making small adjustments to stay in that channel. This process of calibration is a crucial skill, and you have 4 primary steering maneuvers at your disposal. If you feel the pull of boredom, your mind drifting, checking the clock, feeling restless, you need to increase the challenge. You can do this by adding a time constraint, aiming for a higher standard of quality, or intentionally introducing a more difficult element to the task. For instance, if you're writing, try to use more active verbs. If you're coding, try to do it with fewer lines. Conversely, if you feel the surge of anxiety, a racing heart, tense shoulders, a feeling of being overwhelmed, you need to reduce the challenge or, more constructively, increase your skill. You can increase your skill on the fly by performing a micro practice. Pause the main task and spend 2 minutes rehearsing the one specific component that is tripping you up. Or you can lower the challenge by breaking the task into even smaller, more manageable pieces, or by temporarily lowering your expectations just to get moving. A fourth option is to add support. Find a tutorial, use a better tool, or ask a colleague for a quick example. How do you know if you're in the channel? Use your body and your results as your compass. Check in with your physical sensations. Is your heart rate elevated but steady, a sign of excited engagement? Or is it frantic and irregular, a sign of stress? Combine this with your performance. If you are meeting your micro goals and feel competent, absorbed, and in control, you are right where you need to be. Staying in this channel, however, requires the one resource more valuable than any other: your attention. If that falters, you will drift out of the channel no matter how perfectly you've calibrated the task. Many of us have internalized a story that goes something like this: I just have a bad attention span. It's time to edit that story. A more accurate and empowering version is, I have not yet trained my attention. Attention is not a fixed personality trait. It is a mental muscle. Like any muscle, it can be strengthened with consistent, targeted exercise. Here are 3 practical training regimens you can start today. First, implement a system of single-tasking sprints, often called the Pomodoro technique. The process is simple. You set a timer for 25 minutes and commit to working on one, and only one thing until the timer goes off. No email, no phone, no quick checks of anything else. When the bell rings, you must take a genuine 5-minute break away from your screen. This isn't about brute force endurance. It's interval training for your brain. It builds the crucial muscle of returning your focus to a single point over and over again, while teaching you that breaks are part of the process, not a failure of it. Second, you need to proactively manage your inputs with an interference list in a redesigned environment. During a focus sprint, when an unrelated thought or a new to-do item inevitably pops into your head, do not act on it. Instead, have a notepad or a simple text file open. Quickly jot down the thought. Email Tom about the invoice, buy milk, and immediately return your focus to the primary task. This act of writing it down acknowledges the thought without letting it hijack your attention. At the end of the day, look at your interference list. It's a diagnostic tool. What were the most common internal and external interruptions? Use this data to redesign your environment for tomorrow to eliminate those cues. Third, practice what is known as emotional labeling. When you feel a wave of frustration, anxiety, or the powerful urge to procrastinate, pause for a single second and mentally name the feeling. This is impatience, or I am feeling the urge to check social media. By simply labeling the emotion, you shift your perspective from being consumed by it to observing it. This small act of metacognition creates a sliver of space, allowing you to bring your disorderly feelings back into a state of conscious order instead of being blindly driven by them. The metric for your success here is beautifully simple: a gradual increase in the number of effective, uninterrupted focus sprints you can complete each day, and a corresponding decrease in the number of items that land on your interference list. Once your attention becomes more stable, we can use it to solve one of the most perplexing paradoxes of modern life: the strange and often unsatisfying relationship we have with work and leisure. Here is a question that reveals a deep truth about how we experience our lives. If passively watching a streaming series is truly more relaxing than your job, why do you often feel more drained and listless after a 3-hour binge than after a challenging but productive day at work? The answer lies in the structure of the activity itself. Decades of research using the experience sampling method, where people report their feelings and activities in real time, show a stunningly consistent result. People report experiencing flow far more often during structured, goal-oriented activities, like those often found at work, than during passive, unstructured leisure. Work, for all its potential frustrations, frequently provides the essential ingredients for flow: clear goals, immediate feedback, and a balance of challenge and skill. Passive leisure, on the other hand, provides none of these. It leaves the mind untethered, allowing it to drift into that chaotic state of psychic entropy. The solution is not to work more or to abandon leisure. The solution is to rewrite the code for both. Try this transformation today. First, select one task from your job, preferably one you find tedious. Instead of just doing it, reframe it as a self-designed game. Let's say Alex has to respond to 20 customer support emails. He can turn it into a game. Can I resolve 20 tickets in 60 minutes with a customer satisfaction score of at least 4 out of 5 on each? He now has a goal, a time limit, and a feedback mechanism. Second, choose one of your typical evening leisure activities. Instead of just passively consuming, transform it into a light, active project. Don't just watch a documentary. Watch it with the specific goal of identifying 3 surprising facts you can share with someone tomorrow. Don't just listen to a playlist. Try to create your own playlist with a specific mood or theme, carefully sequencing the tracks. The key is to inject a small, voluntary structure of goals and feedback. At the end of the day, compare the two experiences. Rate your subjective energy level on a scale of 1 to 10 after your gamified work task and after your active leisure project. You will almost certainly find that both left you feeling more energized and fulfilled than their passive, unstructured counterparts. This is how you stop your free time from being an energy drain and start making it a source of genuine growth. The idea of productive leisure might initially sound like an unwelcome intrusion of work into our precious downtime, but this framing misses the point. The goal isn't to turn your hobbies into a second job. It's to make them more deeply engaging and restorative by applying the same principles that create flow. This is the key to preventing that hollow feeling of having wasted an evening, and it ensures you start the next day feeling renewed, not depleted. Here is a 5-minute formula you can use to transform almost any passive activity into an active one. If you're going for a walk, don't just wander aimlessly. Make it a noticing walk with the goal of finding 5 things you've never seen before on your regular route. Or put on a podcast and listen with the intention of capturing its single biggest idea in one sentence you can write down when you get home. When you're listening to a new album, don't just have it on as background noise. Practice deep listening. For one song, try to follow only the bass line from beginning to end. For another, try to map out the song's structure: verse, bridge, chorus, outro. If you're trying to learn a new skill, like playing an instrument or drawing, commit to a single action micro practice. Spend just 5 minutes practicing one specific chord change over and over, or drawing one perfect ellipse again and again. Even watching a movie or visiting a museum can be elevated. Before you start, create a question card with a single prompt to guide your attention, like, what is the most effective use of light in this film? Or, which object in this room tells the most interesting story? Finally, end your day with a simple 3 takeaways, 1 change review. In a notebook, briefly list 3 things you learned, created, or discovered during your active leisure, and identify 1 small adjustment you'll make tomorrow to make it even more engaging. The proof is in the experience. You will notice a higher level of positive energy, a sense of time well spent, and you'll have tangible, reusable insights or skills to show for what was once empty time. We are now at the midpoint of our journey. We have laid the essential foundation. It's time to pause and check the scorecard, not as a test, but as proof that you are already making progress. It is remarkably easy to listen to a stream of good ideas, to nod along and feel a sense of understanding. But the real lasting change only happens when knowledge is translated into action. So let's run a quick diagnostic. This midpoint scorecard is not a test to be graded. It is tangible proof that you are actively building your own anti-entropy system. It's about moving from I know to I do. On a simple scale of 0 to 5, where 0 is not at all today and 5 is consistently throughout the day, rate yourself on these 5 items based on your experience of today. First, how many small, concrete, controllable goals did you define and complete? A score of 1 might be that one 25-minute sprint Alex did. Second, how many of your activities had a clear, immediate feedback loop that lets you know how you were doing in real time? Third, how many total minutes did you spend in a deliberate, protected, single-tasking focus sprint? Tally them up. Fourth, how many times today did you consciously adjust a task's difficulty to stay in the flow channel, either making it slightly harder to combat boredom or slightly easier to manage anxiety? And fifth, Do you have a tangible record, a completed checklist, a few lines of code, a drafted paragraph, a mind map that exists now but didn't this morning? Tally up your score. The absolute number is less important than the act of measurement itself. A low score isn't a failure. It's a clear diagnostic indicator of where to focus your efforts tomorrow. This score is your first data point, your proof of progress. And with this newfound momentum, we are ready to expand the system beyond the realm of your individual tasks. We're going to apply these same principles to one of the most complex, rewarding, and often draining areas of life, your interactions with other people. How many times have you walked out of a meeting or a long social gathering feeling utterly exhausted, as if your mental energy had been vacuumed out of the room? We often treat social interaction as a chaotic and unpredictable force, something that happens to us rather than something we can shape. But it doesn't have to be this way. When a group of people synchronize their attention on a shared, meaningful goal, they can enter a powerful state of social flow. This is a highly creative and productive experience where the group's intelligence and energy become far greater than the sum of its individual parts. You can intentionally design your conversations and meetings to make this state more likely. Here are 3 practical steps. First, at the very beginning of the interaction, you must anchor it to a single shared objective. Don't begin with a vague, "let's catch up," or "let's discuss the project." Start with a precise and compelling mission statement. The single most important question we need to answer in the next 30 minutes is, or the sole purpose of this meeting is to produce a decision on which vendor to choose. This immediately aligns everyone's mental energy on the same target. Second, practice the discipline of echoing and confirming. As someone else is speaking, your goal is not to formulate your rebuttal, but to listen with the intent to accurately summarize their key point back to them, saying, "So if I'm understanding you correctly, your primary concern is the timeline, not the budget. Is that right?" This creates a powerful feedback loop. It makes the other person feel genuinely heard, clarifies the shared understanding, and prevents the conversation from fracturing into a series of monologues. Third, establish a rhythm. For group discussions that tend to get chaotic, consider a structured, timed, round-robin format. Each person gets 2 uninterrupted minutes to articulate their thoughts on the central question. This prevents any one person from dominating, ensures all voices are heard, and creates a predictable cadence that helps the entire group stay engaged and focused. The feedback for social flow is the outcome itself. Did you achieve the single objective you set at the beginning, within the allotted time? When you turn talk from an aimless exchange into a shared, goal-oriented task, it ceases to be an energy drain and becomes a potent source of collective intelligence and surprising joy. Of course, life isn't always about smooth collaboration. So what happens when you are not completely off course by an unexpected blow? When adversity strikes, a project you poured your heart into is canceled, you receive harsh and unexpected criticism, or a personal plan suddenly falls apart, our natural tendency is for our minds to descend into chaos. We get trapped in loops of anxious rumination about the future and regretful counterfactuals about the past. Our attention, our most precious resource, is completely hijacked by the problem, leaving us feeling powerless and paralyzed. In these moments, trying to tackle the entire issue is like trying to calm a hurricane with your bare hands. The only effective strategy is to find the eye of the storm. You need a protocol, a sequence of small, concrete steps to regain a foothold of control and reestablish order. Fast. Here is a 4-step reboot protocol you can execute within 24 hours of a setback. First, take out a piece of paper and list all the constraints, problems, and negative consequences the setback has created. Get every single worry out of your head and onto the page. This externalizes the chaos. Second, carefully review this list and circle only the 3 smallest things you have direct and immediate control over. Not things you can merely influence, but things you can physically do right now. Ignore everything else on the list for the time being. Third, for each of those 3 circled items, set an extremely small, almost laughably achievable goal with an instant feedback mechanism. If a proposal was rejected, a controllable micro goal is not fix the proposal. It is Send one email to a trusted colleague asking for their honest feedback on a single page of it. The feedback is the sent email. The goal is the action itself, not the outcome. Fourth, perform a two-part rehearsal. First, mentally visualize yourself completing that tiny action from start to finish. Then physically perform the action. This simple sequence rebuilds the crucial link between your intention and your action, which is often the first casualty of a major setback. Your metric for success is your completion rate of these three micro goals within 24 hours and a noticeable reduction in your own emotional volatility as you regain a sense of agency. This protocol allows you to build a small, stable island of order in a sea of chaos. From that island, you can begin to expand your circle of control. This same engine of turning overwhelming challenges into controllable, skill-building steps can be installed directly into the heart of your daily job, transforming it from a routine to a lifelong craft. For many people, the daily job can feel like a cage of repetition, a slow march of mechanical tasks that leads to a creeping sense of boredom, disengagement, and eventual burnout. We often fall into the trap of believing that the job defines us, that its structure is fixed and we are merely cogs within it. But what if you could redefine the game you are playing every day? You have the power to redesign your role, no matter how seemingly rigid, to be a continuous source of flow and personal mastery. This is the mindset of playing your job like a craft. Here are 3 ways you can begin this transformation. First, create a complexity ladder for your core, repetitive tasks. Take a single activity you do every day and deliberately break it down into 5 levels of escalating difficulty. Let's return to Alex and his customer support tickets. Level 1 might be completing them at his normal pace. Level 2 could be completing them 10% faster while maintaining quality. Level 3 might be achieving a 0 error rate for an entire batch. Level 4 could involve identifying the root cause of a recurring issue and proposing a systemic fix. Level 5 might be creating a training document to teach his method to a new team member. This turns a flat, boring task into a dynamic progression. Second, build yourself a private, visual scoreboard. Don't wait for your annual performance review to get feedback. Track your own key metrics on a simple chart or spreadsheet, daily or weekly. You could track your pace, the quantity you produce, or a quality score that you define for yourself. This provides the immediate personal feedback that is essential for engagement and mastery. Third, strategically shift between batching and single-tasking modes. Group all your small, shallow administrative tasks, like answering non-urgent emails or filing expenses, into 1 or 2 dedicated batches per day. This ruthless consolidation liberates long, uninterrupted blocks of time for the deep, focused work where you can actually climb your complexity ladder and enter flow. A crucial warning is necessary here. You must beware of the illusion of control that comes from luck, speculation, or office politics. True sustainable flow comes from the tangible growth of your skills, not from the fleeting thrill of a gamble paying off. The measure of your success isn't a lucky win. It's a visible, upward curve in your own skills and the objective quality of your output. To sustain this kind of deep engagement over the long haul, you need to connect your actions not just to data on a scoreboard, but to the rich data of your own subjective experience. You cannot effectively manage what you do not measure. And this principle applies as much to your internal state of well-being as it does to a corporate balance sheet. Our memory of how we felt during the day is notoriously unreliable and biased. We might overemphasize one frustrating 10-minute interaction and completely forget 2 hours of blissful, focused engagement. To truly understand what brings you into flow and what pushes you into psychic entropy, you need to collect real-time data on your own experience. The scientific method for this is called the Experience Sampling Method, or ESM, and you can run your own simplified 1-week version of it to create a personal map of your own consciousness. Here is how it works. For 1 week, set a random alarm on your phone or watch to go off several times throughout your workday. When it rings, you must pause for just 30 seconds and act like a scientist observing a subject. In a small notebook or a dedicated app, you quickly jot down the answers to a few simple questions. What am I doing right now? On a scale of 1 to 10, what is my mood or emotional state? On a scale of 1 to 10, What is the challenge level of this activity? And on a scale of 1 to 10, what is my current skill level for this activity? Finally, make a quick note of where your feedback is coming from, if any. At the end of the week, sit down with your data. Create a simple heat map of your life. Identify the activities, times of day, and situations that consistently produced high challenge, high skill ratings, and positive emotions. These are your flow hot zones. Just as importantly, identify the moments of high anxiety, high challenge, low skill, or deep boredom, low challenge, high skill. These are your primary entropy sources. This data is your personal, evidence-based blueprint for a better life. The goal is to use this map to consciously redesign the following week. Proactively schedule more of the activities that you now know get you into flow, and find ways to restructure, delegate, or eliminate the things that consistently drain you. Now let's pull all of these powerful strategies together into a single elegant tool you can use every single day. We have journeyed from the high-level theory of psychic entropy to the granular tactics for designing your work, your leisure, and your conversations. But principles, no matter how profound, are useless without a process. To make this entire system feel less like a collection of ideas and more like a natural part of your daily life, you need a simple, repeatable ritual. This is the fulfillment of the promise made at the beginning. Your one-page, daily anti-entropy checklist. It is designed to be a minimal, elegant prompt that condenses everything we have discussed into 7 essential actions to anchor your day in purpose and focus. Here it is. 1. Define one, and only one, meaningful and controllable micro goal for the day. 2. For that specific goal, explicitly define what your immediate, visible feedback loop will be. 3. Before you begin your main task, take a moment to consciously calibrate its difficulty to match your current skill and energy level. 4. Schedule and execute at least one 25-minute, fully protected, single-tasking focus sprint. 5. Identify your single biggest digital or environmental distraction for the day and implement one specific guardrail to shield yourself from it. 6. Engage in at least one conversation that is intentionally designed around achieving a shared, concrete output, not just aimless talk. And 7. End your workday with a 2-minute, 3 takeaways, 1 change review of your performance and your experience. This checklist is not meant to be another burden on your to-do list. It is your daily operating system for creating order, triggering flow, and compounding your personal growth. Keep it on a physical card on your desk or as a daily reminder on your phone, and hand it to yourself every morning as a charter for the day ahead. This entire system, the daily checklists, the constant calibration of challenge, the deliberate architecture of your focus, is fundamentally about one thing: learning how to keep the flow channel open. It is a continuous practice, a dynamic skill, not a one-time fix or a destination you arrive at. By consistently running this small, powerful loop, setting a clear goal, seeking immediate feedback, protecting your focus, asserting control, calibrating the difficulty, and reviewing your progress, you begin to transform ordinary days into a series of optimal experiences. This is how you build a life that is not just passively lived, but actively and artfully created, moment by moment. The result is not just higher productivity or better work. It is a resilient and deeply rewarding sense of purpose, a quiet confidence built not by grand, heroic gestures, but by the consistent, daily mastery of your own attention.